So I want to be very clear. This is not a full-on review of Rise of the Dragon. This is just skimming the book in relation to the larger controversy. But I will be passing some judgment on whether it's worth purchasing this thing. So what is the problem? Basically, Linda's a racist. I think I've tried to be fair and go through her tweets and online messages and try to contextualize what she's saying. Now, maybe she's not an extreme racist. The book itself actually does have quite a few non whites in the illustrations, so this isn't entirely a worthless racist book. It does have actually a lot of strengths. So, is it worth ignoring her racism to pay for this book? I'd have to say, probably not. And I just want to say a word whether this contributes to cancel culture. I gotta be honest, even if Linda was not a racist, I don't think this is worth the price. This is a really, really pricey book. It's about $60. And you can probably get a discounted version from Amazon, but even at $35, this is a lot. So, what is Rise of the Dragon? Well, being blunt about it, it's just basically an abridged version of Fire and Blood, and that's about it. It's just a short version of a George R. R. Martin book. It isn't really a Martin book per se. It seems that they put in some lines from Martin, but this is basically Linda and Elio doing George's work and basically contributing to most of the text, and they're imitating his style. And they do a good enough job to imitate it, but it's very flat. It's just presenting kind of an encyclopedia history of Westeros in a very prose fashion, and that's about it. So is it handy even as a reference? No, there's already The World of Ice, and if you got that book, you don't really need this book. Even that book is kind of not totally necessary. It's just contributing a little bit more knowledge to the canon, but again, beyond the main books, you don't have to purchase anything in terms of the canon. But yeah, World of Ice, if you want to be a completist, would do that for you. This is just providing a lot of great, beautiful illustrations. That's really the best part of the book are the illustrations. But even there, I was kind of surprised, though. A few of them look kind of amateurish, and were not looking that good anyway. I understand what they're trying to go for. They're giving various viewpoints of Westeros, so the illustrations don't have consistency even in quality, but you can definitely feel that people put in a lot of passion and time and effort on the illustrations. The actual texts, though, are pretty plain. They just give you kind of lists and a lot of paragraphs about this or that house, a few more details on the Targaryens, some more background details. But if you really know the world already through the books, this isn't really going to deepen your knowledge all that much. It's just going to give you a few more added details to accompany watching House of the Dragon. So, do you really need to pay for this? Probably not.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Even on its own terms, the quality is okay. Now, the reviews for it are glowing, but this basically seems to be the really committed fans, and they really loved it. But even some of them admitted, yeah, the paper quality isn't that good. Some of the illustrations are not as strong, and even their actual copy, they actually collapsed when they got it. There were a few marks or a few problems with the actual edition that they got. For what it is, it's fine. I guess you have extreme amount of extra income. If you just have $100 you can throw away, then I guess it's worth the price. But given that Linda is a racist, I don't think we should be putting any more money in her pocket. We're not canceling her. I'm sure she's making plenty of money elsewhere. And they probably are still going to be used as experts. So, good or bad, they're going to get income from whatever you want to call it, the Game of Thrones industry. But really, this is pretty needless in terms of the collection. I don't see the point. Obviously, you could just wait a while. Maybe you'll just purchase it through other vendors. You're not going to give her any money. But even then, it just seems like, I guess as a collector's item, maybe. This kind of feels like back in the day, people would just put out these weird comic book covers with a lot of holograms. And, I'm not going to lie, I paid for some of those. And they're okay, but looking back on it, it's just an excuse to add on $1 to the cover price. It didn't really add anything to the story. I'm kind of puzzled why George even did this. He doesn't need the money. He's pretty rich. I guess he just wants another reference source. But again, the illustrations are the strongest point, but some of the illustrations are a little below average. They're not as strong as you would hope. They're interesting interpretations of the lore. That's about it. But the actual main text is kind of boring. It's not that exciting. It doesn't have the trademark George R. R. Martin style. So they do a good job imitating the style, but they really can't master it completely, which I guess is a good thing. So it basically is an Ilio Linda book with just a few paragraphs taken from George, copy pasted. So if you do want to know more about this side of the history of Westeros, just go through Fire and Blood. That's basically probably the best route. And that is much more cheap. You can just pay $10 for the book. That's about it. I'm going to have to say negative on Rise of the Dragon. But again, this is not a full-on review. I want to take time to go through it carefully. It's not a big book. It's basically 300 pages, basically. It's not going to take too much of your time. But I'd say for the price as well as the larger political context, I'd have to say no. Maybe if it was very, very cheap and the illustrations were still good, maybe it might be possible to make a case for it. But at $60 and a racist author, it's just not worth it.